Let's recap what we have so far. When I play my game, you can see that I can shoot crates. We've got that covered, and we can walk into the door and then the door opens. Now, next thing to bring our game out of dorky land is to make sure that when we're colliding with the door, it doesn't open when we're already hitting our nose on it, but that it opens before we arrive there, just like a supermarket door would do. Now, to do this, we will use a technology called raycasting. Now, raycasting is pretty easy to understand. Look, for example, at this player and the move handle that is sticking out of him. A raycast would be an invisible line about this long is what we're going to make it, and this line checks if there's collision at this certain length. So that way, if this line, invisible line, collides with the door, it will open it for us. Pretty easy stuff, and it's not going to be very difficult. Alright, so first of all, we need to get rid of this code, but let's not delete it yet because we might need it later, or if something doesn't work, you want to go back to it. So to uncomment it, just type / asterisk at the front and then an asterisk, another slash at the end, and that will turn our code block into comment. And that way the computer skips the code and doesn't execute it. Okay, next we need to check the raycast every frame, and to check every frame we need to do this every time in the update function. So let's put our update function back into this script, and inside this function let's redefine the hit variable once again, but this time let's make it of the type raycast hit, which is another variable type defined in Unity 3D already. Alright, next we need to cast our raycast, and this we'll do in an if statement so that we make sure that it's checked every single frame. Now, our if statement will need the raycast, so let's start adding our raycast here by typing physics, because raycasts are derived from the physics engine .raycast, and this function needs a couple variables, 4 to be exact, and the first one is the position where we're casting the ray from, and that is of course the position of our player, and this is already attached to our player, so we can simply type transform dot position. Next we need to know in what direction we're casting the ray, and that's of course the forward direction or Z direction, so shorthand for Z is transform dot forward, and then we need to know where to save our data in, and this will be our hit variable that we defined right before this if statement. And then last but not least, it wants to know the length of our raycast, and we'll make that 5 units, and in Unity you could think that that would be exactly 5 meters. Okay, now we have our raycast and this is checked every single frame. Let's add some comments to this. Check if we're colliding, and then next we need to add some other code that will make sure if we're colliding with the door. So let's add another comment with the door, or in this case a door, because we can have multiple doors with the same tag. Alright, of course we need another if statement here to check what our hit variable is holding out for us. So we need to type hit.collider.game object.tag equals door. Now notice that here with the other collision functions we've checked hit.game object straight away. However, when our hit variable is a raycast hit and not a controller collider hit, then we need to add the collider first, because we're actually talking to the collider. This already knows what the collider is. So we need to do hit.collider.gameObject.tag. Otherwise we'll get an error. Alright, next we already know that we're colliding with the door now. Let's open the door. Sesame open right here. Alright, and that goes hit.collider.gameObject, and you've guessed it. Now we need to play the animation dot play, and the animation we're playing of course is door underscore open. Now let's save the script, switch back to Unity, and we don't see any errors popping up here, so I guess our code is at least syntax wise correct. Now when I run my game, let's walk up to the door, and as you can see, it opens right 5 meters before I actually hit it. Really nice, really good. Okay, I'm very happy with this. If you want, you can increase the number, of course. You can change it into a variable, for example, say raycast or variable raycast length equals 5. And then here, instead of the 5, you just use the raycast length variable. And then it will show up in the editor here. If it refreshes, let me save this one again. Raycast is 5. Go back into our player. And sometimes it happens in Unity that when you save a script it doesn't update, and it helps to just restart Unity. But of course you can imagine that down here the raycast length will show up on the bottom, and you can change the length of it to tweak parameters while you're playing the game. Now also, if you get an error like I'm having down here, you can double click it and it will bring up the console window as well as the script, and the console window will tell you exactly what's wrong, and it says I have an unknown identifier raycast length, which is this one, and I probably misspelled it, so let me copy it again and then paste it, save. Let's go back into our script, see if it works when I run the game, and it does. And now as you can see, the variable does show up down here. It sometimes helps when you run the game and stop the game to refresh. And of course now I can change, for example, to 7, test again, and the door will open a lot sooner before I actually reach the door. So there you have it. That's how raycasting works. Let's move on and do some more exciting stuff.